Hello, welcome to IG. I'm Angeline Ong, and this is your look ahead to the coming weekend. What an exciting week it's going to be. Plenty of economic data, and also, of course, the earnings season starts in earnest in the US with the big banks. First, let's get you across the economic side of things. We've got trade balance numbers out of Germany. Inflation. That also swings into focus on Monday from the US. And further along midweek, it gets even busier with the retail sales data out of the UK. Consumer confidence will be a key thing in Australia as well. And of course, the API crude oil inventories in the US will come in a time when everyone's focused on inflation, not forgetting Powell speaking in the Senate. On Wednesday, we've got an interest rate decision from New Zealand. They also are looking at a sticky inflation picture there still. Inflation numbers out of China and producer price numbers will be key as well, given that China's been in the headlines with the EU and China stuck in that trade tit for tat at the moment. From the US, the picture remains on oil with the EIA crude oil inventory report, and also the OPEC monthly report is out on the same day. And then the monthly GDP numbers out of the UK comes as we head into the first week with a Labour government. Trade numbers will also be key, along with industrial output. And from the US, there'll be inflation numbers and initial jobless claims that will be in focus. And finally, on Friday, we end with the Michigan consumer sentiment and the producer price index, along with the Baker Hughes oil rig count. Let's cross live to Chicago now, where Anthony Batista is standing by from Tasty Live, part of IG Group, of course. But it's looking like everyone's clinging on to a good summer for the equity market. The melt-up still remains in play. Anything that might spoil the party in the coming week?
Well, you brought up some nice things there. I think we're almost welcoming earnings coming for the banks. Volatility has been so low in the market as we've continue to make new highs and hang out right here at those highs. Maybe the banks can shake it up with a little bit of volatility. I don't mean to bring us to the downside. I mean, the market likes to climb the wall of worry. And you've got some of those things, and you mentioned them. You mentioned inflation. You mentioned oil. Oil's been hanging relatively high here in the States. /CL has had a nice rally. That's our crude that we like to trade here in the States. And then you also have, that's the one inflation side. On the other side, you had bonds catching a little bit of a rally. Maybe that rate cut is back on the table. It looked like it was going to be dead there last week or so. It looks like it's rearing its head again, which would be good for the market. So you got oil on one side, give us a little bit of inflation looking aspect to it. You've got the bonds that are kind of giving us a little bit of, hey, it's gung-ho back up to the upside in the market. And you've got volatility at lows, which also helps the market to the upside. All in all, July, typically a bullish month, and it seems to be that way still.
Now, it's a big thing here to do with the election as well. And I think we're all in the UK kind of heaving a sigh of relief and thinking, oh, it'll be the French and the Americans next. Or just checking on some of the things that we're seeing here. The calls I made on UK house builders, that came to pass. But house builders getting a lift up after Labour got a landslide. But you know what, Bat? They didn't actually win the UK election. The Tories effectively lost it. I mean, how any chatter amongst the Americans as they look across the pond?
I was a little confused because I know the Europe's been leaning a little bit right, and this is a center left Labour Party, but it seems like the perfect Goldilocks. Everybody's trying to go right down the middle, which is I think where the pendulum should sit for both parties, for everyone, and actually, in fact.
No, you're totally right. It should, but actually, because of how things have been the last few years, right? We've had, this populist movement. In many respects, the real winners were reform, and they're a little different from the right-wing populist shift that has occurred across Europe. And now the key thing is to see whether this is short-lived or something, bigger, something longer-lived. Maybe the liberal elites have made the mistake of portraying reform as, racist and those that just don't want migration or, anyone that is different in any way. But maybe they've managed to capture some sort of populist movement on the grassroots levels, those that want real change, even if it's radical. I'm sure you might understand this at your side of the pond too.
We've got our own movements going on here too. That is for sure. Politics I try to stay away from as best I can because you're always upsetting somebody. But you know what? It always seems to work out in the end. If level heads, things work out.
Wise words there from Anthony Batista from Tasty Live in Chicago. Thank you so much for joining us. Right, let's get you across the corporate side of things, and it's really heavy in the coming week. We've got big US banks later on in the week, but let's catch you up on what's happening in the front. We got Forexpo out with a production report for the second quarter. And then a little later in the week on Tuesday, look out for Vistry, first half trading statement. Vistry, interestingly, one of those stocks that is moving higher after that Labour win earlier this morning. And also look out for PageGroup, Q2 trading statement there. PageGroup, one that's good because they give you a bird's eye view to hiring within not just the city, but in other industries as well. JD Wetherspoon out with a trading statement. JD and the founder are very, very pro-Brexit. It'll be interesting to see what they say about the reform and how many seats they've garnered in the latest UK election. And on Thursday, it's PepsiCo, the big one out of the US, and Delta Airlines as well. Not forgetting Hayes, John Wood Group, and Severn Trent this side of things. And the biggie, of course, comes on Friday, with the US banks, Citigroup, Wells Fargo, JPMorgan Chase, and BNY Mellon kicking off the earnings season for US big banks. And that's your special look ahead to the coming week. For more analysis, look up IG on YouTube, especially the short section, where if you want short trading analysis, you can find a lot of them there, and it's searchable as well. You can look out for your favorite financial instrument. Otherwise, for longer form analysis, just Google either my name, Chris Beecham, or Axel Rudolph with whatever you're trading, and you'll find our latest analysis there. This is IG.